During her fourth patrol, the destroyer USS Borie was scanning the dark Atlantic waters when, shortly after 7:43 p.m. on October 31, 1943, her radar picked up a contact. It was U-256, a German U-boat. Borie closed in quickly. The submarine crash-dived, but Borie attacked with depth charges. After 2 rounds, U-256 was forced back to the surface, only to dive again. A third attack left behind a large oil slick. Believing she had sunk the enemy, Borie's captain, Lieutenant Commander Charles Hutchins, signaled the escort carrier card, "Scratch 1 pigboat, am searching for more." But that night, the hunt wasn't over. Around 1:53 a.m. on November 1st, radar picked up another contact, this time 26 miles away from the first encounter. It was U-405, a Type 7C German submarine. Borie raced through rough seas, 15-foot waves, high winds, and poor visibility to intercept. At about 2,800 yards, radar contact was lost, but sonar quickly reacquired the target. Moments later, the U-boat surfaced. The battle began, hours before dawn, in the middle of the North Atlantic. Borie launched depth charges, then opened fire with her 4-inch and 20mm guns. The U-boat's 20mm autocannons answered back, striking Borie's forward engine room. The Germans aimed their 88mm deck gun at the destroyer's waterline, but before they could fire, Borie's gunners hit first. A burst of 20mm fire swept the deck, cutting down the exposed German crew, and 3 4-inch shells blew the deck gun apart. Then came the incredible moment. Borie closed in and rammed U-405. At the last second, the U-boat turned sharply and a massive wave lifted Borie's bow right onto the U-boat's deck. The 2 ships locked together, steel grinding against steel, as crewmen on both sides opened fire at point-blank range. What followed was one of the strangest battles of World War II, fought with rifles, pistols, Tommy guns, and even flare pistols. The ships were jammed in a V-shape, each trying to break free while the sea pounded them together. The destroyer's hull began to split, flooding her engine rooms, while the submarine's thicker steel held strong. Still, Borie's crew fought fiercely. German sailors tried to man their deck weapons, but each time one appeared, he was caught in Borie's spotlight and cut down by gunfire. The crew even fired a very flare pistol at close range. One flare struck a German sailor in the chest. The polar bear insignia gleamed in the spotlight. She was badly damaged and unable to dive. Eventually, Borie managed to separate from U-405. Both ships tried to fire torpedoes, but neither scored a hit. Of the U-405's crew of 49 men, only about 14 survived the fighting. The submarine, battered and immobile, tried to flee, but Borie's guns and depth charges struck again. At 2:57 a.m., U-405 slipped beneath the waves, her crew seen abandoning ship in small yellow rafts. As the last officer set scuttling charges, the U-boat exploded underwater. The men aboard Borie erupted in cheers. They had done the impossible, sunk an enemy submarine in a duel fought at ramming distance. But their victory came at a terrible cost. Borie herself was fatally wounded. The collision had ripped open her port side. Her forward engine room was flooded. The hull was buckling and seawater was pouring in. Only her starboard engine worked, barely keeping her afloat. By morning, she was leaking oil and losing steam pressure. Her crew jettisoned everything they could – guns, torpedoes, even mattresses to lighten the ship. Despite their desperate efforts, she continued to sink lower in the water. At 4:30 p.m., Captain Hutchins made the heartbreaking decision: abandon ship. As the storm worsened, nearby destroyers Gough and Barry rescued the crew, but 27 men were lost to the freezing water and brutal waves. Still, Borie refused to sink. The next morning, aircraft from CARD dropped bombs to finish her off. Finally, at 9:55 a.m. on November 2, 1943, the USS Borie slipped beneath the Atlantic, ending one of the most extraordinary naval battles of the war. Her courage and the determination of her crew became legendary, a story of bravery, grit, and an unbreakable will to fight, even when the sea itself seemed to turn against them.